Hi everybody, my name is Bree Metzger. I'm a second semester senior English and creative writing double major.
Hi everybody, my name is Alyssa Leonis. I am a junior speech language pathology major.
I'm Allison Parrish, a sophomore speech language pathology major, and today our presentation is on the Navajos. So who are the Navajos? The Navajos are one of the largest tribes of American Indians. The name Navajo comes from the Spanish, who called them the Apaches of Navajo. They call themselves the Dine, meaning the people. Settlement. They were thought to have migrated from Asia into parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, which you can see on the graph. Their settlement patterns are a continuation of patterns used by ancient Athabascan tribes and Apacheans, which led to easy substitution of farming practices and economy. And this also had an impact on their hunting and gathering, just like their ancestors did. Their homesteads are typically small and scattered, as you also can see on the map. This was due to resource limitations. They frequently moved and were considered nomadic, but less nomadic than plain tribes.
The Navajo language is known as Dine to native speakers. It is an Athabascan language of the American Southwest. There are more than 100,000 speakers, and it is the most widely used Native American language in the U.S. They have informal and formal dialects. They have a phoneme inventory that have some uncommon consonants that are not found in the English language. Verbal communication. They are comfortable with long periods of silence. If you answer too quickly, it is considered immature, and they do not share inner thoughts and feelings with those outside of their family and clan. Listening and not interrupting is also a strongly held value.
Verbal communication. In the Navajo culture, it's typical that there are not many gestures in a conversation. Personal space is important. Direct eye contact is considered rude or disrespectful. Handshakes are a touching of hands rather than a firm handshake, which perpetuates a sense of privacy and modesty. They prefer side-by-side communication over face-to-face. They demonstrate praise by raising hands and shaking them, and the turning of one's back is considered extremely rude.
In our traditional teachings among the Ne, there are things that you should do and things you cannot do, and that especially between male and female, it is that as the Ne male, the Ne sometimes is referred to just the man, but that's in special circles and that if you were in a meeting and you would say Denen Linigi, which means those that are men, and then you would say a Sonnen Linigi, which would refer to the women. And so in that way, there are things that should be recognized as what you can do in a public gathering and what you would do in your individual homes. But the teachings of the individual home between siblings is that as a boy in the family, you are never ever supposed to touch your sister. Never ever. And the only time is that if you happen to pull your sister up by the hand, that would be the extent of it. But it was that never ever touching your sister was very much a thing that you were supposed to be aware of. And then there's a lot of traditional teachings of that associated with the hands, for everything from the first handshake or the touching of hand. Unlike etchitni is what they would say if you were to refer to a handshake. But even a handshake is that you never ever grip the hand. It's just basically just touching fingertips. That was the contact that would be made. And so it is in modern times, people take on the Western approach to a handshake sometimes, and the traditional people really do not appreciate it, where you grip the hand. And when in actuality, our traditional way of placing the fingertips against each other would be sufficient, as touching hands would be to say, "Alask es del knee," which is that you touched hands. And then the other things about the hands and that, and the etiquettes and that involved is when you're learning the traditional songs and prayers and that of ceremonies, the men, and there's some things that can never be revealed if you're not really an apprentice, but much of what you would be taught as far as hand motions and the instructions that you would be receiving about songs and prayers was told to you by the back of the hand. And I can't go into a lot of detail on that because that is something that is considered very sacred. And so if you ever become an apprentice, as far as learning some of the songs and some of the ceremonies and prayers, then the hand and that particular teaching would be revealed to that apprentice. But the eye contact is another thing among our Dene. It's something that you never do is to look a person in the eye. They establish all types of taboos and that, but basically it was disrespectful and to stare at a person and to look them in the eye. Maybe it was regarded as an evil eye and that, but everybody has their own version of why you don't look into a person's eye. But it was respectful to keep your head down when you were being told and being instructed. Sometimes you would not look at your instructor at all. You would listen to his voice, and everything that he was instructing you or she was instructing you would be drawn out on the ground. And so that's where you would look. And when you would ask a question, sometimes if you would look at the chest of the individual while you're talking to them, that was respectful. But to go and to look into the eyes of the person giving you instruction was very disrespectful. But nowadays, with a lot of influence from Western cultures and so on, it is being lost as far as how we express ourselves by the way we respond to people of other culture. But those are the things that we are told.
Religion of the Navajo people includes the belief of earth people and holy people. They also believe that we pass through 3 worlds before arriving in this world, which they refer to as the glittering world. Their supernatural beliefs include skinwalkers, which are harmful witches that may disguise themselves as animals, and ill health is thought to be brought upon by ghosts that can lead to death. Those who practice witchcraft use spiritual power to acquire wealth, induce love, and harm enemies or rivals.
There are 2 major holidays they celebrate: Night Chant / Night Way and Navajo Mountain Chant. Night Chant, commonly called the Yabachai dance, is the most popular of all the Navajo ceremonies. There are 4 major rites to the Night Chant, and they are In the Rocks, From the Timber, Danced Across the River, and Big God Chant. Navajo Mountain Chant is a 9-day chant that marks a transition in the seasons. It takes place in the late winter at the end of the thunderstorms, but before the spring winds arrive.
Health practices, medicine men were called on to perform healing ceremonies, which included many chants, the use of herbs, and sand paintings. There were over 450 species of herbs used for medicinal purposes. The sand paintings were used to transfer strength and beauty to the patient, which can be seen in the pictures on our slide. Tremblers acted as medical diagnosticians, and they were sometimes called on to verify illnesses.
In the teaching of our Dene, there is special consideration and learning that has to be done about the hand, the human hand. the five-fingered being that we are, and especially applies to the hand trembling, which is a way to diagnose various illnesses, whether they be of the spirit or the emotion, the mind, or the physical body. The hand trembling is very important to the when there's any kind of illness or any situation where there's discomfort in the life of an individual. They used to use the hand trembler to make some type of diagnosis so people would know what to do for the individual that was sick in some way or was experiencing illness. But the way that the hand trembler uses the gift, it's not everybody that can be a hand trembler. There are certain people that have that gift, and when they have that gift, they are supposed to use it in a way that is beneficial to all of the ne, and it's given to only very special people. And the hand trembler themselves that have that gift can recognize that gift in others, and they can pass that gift on to those that have that special gift. But the power to diagnose various illnesses and that is something that the hand tremblers can detect. And they when they do the hand trembling, they put corn pollen on their hands, and actually the hand starts to tremble and making various gestures and giving various signs and that only the hand trembler can interpret and then comprehend what it is that they're being told. And the teaching is that they are getting their answer from the north, which is from a Gila monster. There's a reason for that, and it is that some of the reptiles and that crawl around on the surface of Mother Earth, like the horned toad or the Gila monster, they too have these five fingers and the five hands. But it is that the questions are asked by the hand trembler, and they receive the answer, and then they pass that information on to the people that are making the inquiry. And it's really quite an experience to determine what type of thing or what type of ceremony would have to be conducted to help the person that is experiencing illness or some kind of discomfort in their life. And sometimes it is even that the hand trembler can be consulted for finding something that may have been lost or misplaced that is of great value and importance, and they're able to determine where that item might be. And so it is that the hand trembler was considered a person that could reveal things that were not known or things that needed to be known. And they had special gifts to do that. Now the gifts and that, I have to mention that everyone that is a five-fingered being has very special gifts. Every individual has some type of a gift, whether it be of a spiritual nature, of an emotional nature, of mental nature, or a physical nature. But understanding that those gifts are there for individuals, but you have to develop them, and actually it takes a while and a lifetime in some cases to develop those gifts. Sometimes at an early age you can see the young people have these gifts, and it is that through encouragement and observation of the parents and grandparents and others that they can determine whether that person has a special gift to develop. And as I said, they can be of a spiritual nature, they can be of an emotional nature, and mental and physical. Not everybody can be some type of super athlete, but other people can be gifted in the ways that they can comprehend mathematical things or written material or some things that would involve the intellect or the intelligence and that of the mind. And then there are people that have the ability to have the emotional content in their existence where they can perceive things that are in other people's emotional state, and others can detect things of the mind, and that the way people think and the way people operate, and other things are in the spiritual realm. Is that some people have the ability to be able to comprehend things of the spiritual nature. And so all these are very special gifts. And so it is that the hand is always there to remind us that we have five physical senses of sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. And these senses can be very destructive to us as the five-fingered being. And so it is that we are told that there are four invisible senses that are symbolized by the space between the fingers. And it is that these also contribute to the very special gifts that individuals might have. And people have inquired about these invisible senses. It is always a personal responsibility to every five-fingered being that they have a relationship with their deity as they understand that being, to acquire the knowledge and understanding of these invisible senses. And it is that when you do that, you can kind of focus on the idea of developing your senses, developing further your senses of sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing, so that they can help you to have a pleasant journey through your existence here in this world. The name of hand trembler in our language is Desnihi, which means that the movement of the hand, or the person that has the gift of the movement of the hand. The hand tremblers are around, but they're very few. I think there's less now, because it is really quite a responsibility to have that gift. Because when you do the inquiry, it actually drains you physically, and it's not a pleasant experience for a hand trembler to do the diagnosis of illnesses and receiving answers to questions that people might have. It's very much has an effect on the hand trembler.
Food that the Navajo eat includes squash, corn, beans, and hunted animals, including deer and prairie dogs. They make wheat-based foods, including fry bread, hominy, blue bread, roast corn, wheat sprouts, ground cake, and meal down bread, which is seen in the top picture. Sheep are an important part of the culture, and they are raised for both meat and wool, and the meat would be mutton stew that they make. Many consider eating fish and birds taboo because of their religion.
Legal issues and accountability standards. The Navajo people are a sovereign, self-governing society. They live according to the rules, laws, and prayers taught to them by the holy people. The holy people are the people that gave them the land between the four sacred mountains. They also follow the common law. One major issue is how to decide whether the legal issues fall under the Navajo government or the jurisdiction of the United States. Some issues it's very hard to figure out who has the power. The issues usually stay in the Navajo jurisdiction. Accountability standards. The Navajo Nation uses DSAP, which is DNA School Accountability Plan, to have greater control over the education of their students and control over the schools. Each state has their own accountability plans also, which make it difficult for the Navajo Nation to compare each. The Bilingual Education Act began in 1968. This is the use of two languages for instruction and interaction is required. The Navajo Nation ranges from only speaking Navajo to only speaking English. Each section of the reserve has their own curriculums, which are all different. They are all radically different and a little exchange of information between programs. The lack of communication results in overlap and inconsistencies and different interpretations of a child's needs. Adult education. To earn their high school diploma, the DNA College Adult Education Program offers free academic classes for the adults to take.
We want to give our students many opportunities for them to select what they want to do. And we want to be able to promote them in being successful, to pride themselves in finding their inner spiritual person and knowing that we're in the center of the four sacred mountains. But as Navajos, if we travel beyond that, we're still protected by the almighty power.
To be able to go to school at a university status on the reservation is so awesome, and to be a part of that, I'm really proud of that.
The university is right nearby too, on the Navajo Nation. It's right here at our doorstep. And there's a lot of people, some students that are graduating with the cultural and leadership in the Navajo way, which is real nice.
Well, we integrate Diné philosophy here on campus, and a part of Diné philosophy is to learn to go about and become independent. That's a traditional goal.
I'm not done yet, really. Myself, my brother Jason right there, and another one of our classmates, Lance, right here. We actually got the associate's program going through. That's what I love about NTU, because it's really still a young school. And if you have ideas to make it better, they're open to it. So I want to leave the school with something for the next generation to keep building on.
So I've always been involved with the tribal college and university movement. I came here because I believe that Native American students are vital to the global experience. We have to compete. We need to be able to know the dominant societies, languages, court systems, education systems, political systems, but we don't have to be conquered by them.
A building that's typical in the old days in the culture itself. There were homes that people lived in, these circular homes. Homes were very much a place of teaching too. So August of 2013, we had the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium meeting in here. So people came from Australia, from New Zealand, from Hawaii, from Norway, Canada, I think a couple of countries from South America to be part of that.
My name is Yvonne Platero, and I am originally from Peru, New Mexico, and I've been coming to here for 4 years in the Law Advocate Program, and I'm the first one, first one in my family to get a degree. So I'm very proud that my parents are here to actually experience this, and I hope to come back in the fall to get my bachelor's degree in the law program, even though it's not implemented yet, but we're going to push those instructors.
Well, you'll see in the beginning, in the prelude, normally pomps and circumstances are played. Here we have a medicine man who sings the prelude. It's the traditional songs to bless the students as they go. We all walk following him. And either Miss NTU or another female carries the Navajo medicine bundle in a basket. Our president carries the prayer sticks. So we follow the medicine man all the way in there.
Needed Crown Point, New Mexico. Navajo Technical University. Congratulations.
Here at Navajo Tech, what we're focusing on is getting your degree, because that's what my grandfather, Chief Manuelito, that's what he said. Go, my grandchildren, go and climb that educational ladder. Go and get something for yourself. And that's something my grandmother's always said. I'm not going to be here for you forever. So you have to be able to learn these things and grasp what you can while it's there for you.
Really pushing this institution to be what we call a student-first institution. We need to treat our students like customers. Probably have a high-achieving students. Like when they come to your office, get off the chair and stand up and ask them, what can I do for you? I know one comes in from the middle of Arizona every morning. He gets up like at 4 in the morning, gets on the road and hitchhikes at 5, and he's here before class starts. So that's more than dedication, that's a commitment.
I'm what they call the white Native American, which I didn't know how to butcher, I don't know how to speak the language, but within this year, I came to realize how important it is to know my culture, to utilize my clan, to speak the language. I'm succeeding. And I know the students around here, we start teasing each other clan-wise. Hey, you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my mom, and that's really good. But here at the school, they're forcing us to do it in a nice way, because we have teachers and they ask us, what's your clan? And, oh, you're my grandma, and you're my cousin, so forth down the road.
I'm looking at using online, but I said they have to have access to computers and Wi-Fi someplace. We have students with all kinds of issues like that. They live on dirt roads and it's muddy, and the cars wouldn't start in the winter time, or they don't have decent tires on them. They come from various backgrounds like that. So you have to really treat the students as individual rather than as a group. The teaching standards I brought with me from Indiana. The bars are up here, and then most of the classes are down here. I always tell the students, says, you can do much better than this. I say, you can aim much higher. But I says, I cannot lower that, because when you're at this level, you'll make it anywhere.
There's something magical about this school. We're going to do something brilliant. So we're right there, especially the law program. I think as Native Americans, we come from compassion. We come from looking at a situation that there's two victims in every story. And we kind of want to look at how can we help both of them? How can we fix this as a whole, looking at the whole universe?
I teach about equality and equity. I said we really know how to spell it by now, but we still haven't really experienced it yet. I show them a lot of films from other countries, like some of the struggles, like in Palestine, the Ferguson thing in Missouri, and with some of the turmoil happening. There's a huge comparison of Native people's struggle with the United States. The students here they don't have access to look at those, are really something they should be aware of. So here I provide that space for them.
And see, the songs that we're saying today for the success and the future, the spirituality, when you have that holisticness, when you're brought up from a traditional fireplace, when you know your language and you're connected to that spirituality of yours, those songs that we heard today, my mother's father, his name was Eugene Dennison, he was also a medicine man. So when I was growing up, and when we were herding sheep or out with the cattle or it was raining, he sang those songs for me. And so when I traveled to places like Paris, France, or when I worked in Tunisia, those songs went with me. That's why I know that every single one of us is capable of leaving out of the direction of the four sacred mountains, because we will always be protected.
Parent involvement. Some barriers that could arise for parents of Navajo students are lack of information in a language they can understand, interest in parent involvement from the school, access to translators at every meeting or any meetings, communication between parents and members of the school or other parents, access to programs like ESL classes or parenting classes, or access to meetings with teachers regarding their students' progress in English language proficiency.
These third grade students at Indian Wells Elementary School are studying the Navajo language. They live in the Navajo Nation, a reservation for Native Americans in the southwestern United States. "70 years ago, nearly everyone on the reservation spoke Navajo as their mother tongue. In the late 1800s, Navajo children began to attend public schools. Some children went to schools like this one on the reservation. Others went to boarding schools far from home, where they were not allowed to speak their native language. Over time, English began to replace Navajo. Today, few young Navajos can speak the language of their grandparents. There is growing worry that Navajo and other Native American languages could disappear. Dr. Robbie Korporich is the superintendent of the Holbrook Unified School District in Arizona.
The Navajo language itself, I believe, is a major concern on the reservation and in our district pertaining to the preservation of the language. So the preservation of the Navajo language is part of our mission.
If you think you know how to speak Navajo language, raise your hand. Some of you? Very good. How many, okay, put your hands down. How many of your parents know how to speak Navajo? Very good. Put your hands down. And how many of your Chays or your Nollies know how to speak Navajo?
Tell me about why Navajo language class is your favorite.
So we could learn it and teach it to other people.
Mm-hmm. Are you good at it? P, did you good at this class?
Though they are young, Hortensia and her classmates at Indian Wells know the role they play in preserving the Navajo language for future generations. They take pride in the role the Navajo language played in helping the United States win World War II. In 1942, the United States military recruited 29 Navajo speakers. Together, they developed a secret code to send secret information past Japanese and German code breakers.
The
Navajo code talkers were people that fight for our people so we can stay safe.
This language was a successful code because it was so unbelievably complicated that the enemy couldn't figure out how it worked. And yet we took the children of these people away from their families to train them to speak English only on the grounds that this language was inferior.
An hour away, Navajo students continue to learn the language at a high school in Holbrook, Arizona. The small town is located along the famous U.S. Route 66, just outside the Navajo Nation.
San Jackson and Shia, the Nebazad, outside on Ake, Lanshkin, Isiakin, Hoda Oltrade. My parents are actually, they grew up speaking the Navajo language. They're fluent speakers. They're like a dictionary. If I ask them, how do you say this? You know, they're able to translate. But me, I'm learning as I'm going. Bijana hakushin aro nana nal sos nal yehbeda ol kahiki. Nana ne yeneltra. Hakushin aro e yoltra.
It's disappearing because people don't even speak it. The kids nowadays don't even bother to learn it. They don't even go to their grandmas, their nollies. They don't even bother to learn it. That's all. They just have no interest. And I want to learn it, become a fluent speaker, and teach my children how to speak Navajo and keep the language on, keep it from dying. I don't want that to happen.
Some think like, oh, Navajo, like that's not cool, or like dressing the traditional style with turquoise and the skirts and ciel, the bun. That's like, it's weird, or it's not, it doesn't fit in well with the world right now.
Everybody should have the right to speak their own language just as much as they should have the right to practice their religion, because their language is as good as everybody else's language. So if you take that away, you've taken away a massive resource for knowing something about a part of human life. And you've taken away a part of who those people are. Is that right? Everybody should have the right to speak their language and to transmit their language to their children and to keep their culture alive.
If you just think about it, you know, if my parents, if they go, then that's going to be me right there who has to carry that on. If I don't have the knowledge that they had, it's, you know, it's just, that's going to be it right there. So I'm glad that, you know, we have students here who want to learn the language, who want to keep that language.
Na ishtiyajet o atnanaj big inna hotan legit in a bitch edge in an it's iyo na ishtiyajet o atnanaj
Advice for educators of Navajo students. Navajo children are often stereotyped as lacking the motivation and the cognitive processes needed to achieve. Many come from homes that lack socialization practices, which forces many to drop out of school. Staff members should be committed to continuous school improvements through process, content, and technology. As a teacher, a strict schedule of busy work for the sake of work should be avoided. Since quietness is valued, students should not be expected to make quick decisions or provide quick responses without deliberations.
Our discussion questions. Question 1. Why is it important for teachers in the U.S. to understand the Navajo culture?
Question 2. What is one negative stereotype about Navajo people and how does it affect their education?
Question 3. Given the information in our presentation, what is one way that a U.S. educator could make Navajo students feel comfortable in their classrooms?
Question number 4. What is one question that you still have about the Navajo culture? Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to answer the discussion questions by the end of the module.